Yep, I ended up getting this yesterday at Target. So yesterday I went to Target, which was a Saturday, and it was the dumbest thing I've ever done. It's way too close to Christmas, and I walked into Target, and it's the first time this has ever happened to me. There were no carts. I had to go back out into the parking lot to get a cart. I know, it was that packed, but they ended up having this, and it was like a super annoying experience. I ended up going to the electronics area, and I found a salesperson, and I was like, excuse me, do you have Rosetta Stone? And so she looked on her little, like, I don't even know what it is. It's not an iPad, but it's something like that, similar, some kind of, tablet. And she was like, no, we're all out of stock, which I thought was really weird because when my boyfriend and I looked it up online, it said that they had some in stock at that specific Target. And I was like, are you sure? I was like, well, could you just tell me what area they're in? And she was like, well, they're over there. And I was like, could you show me? She didn't want to do her job. Anyway, so she walked me over and there was like a complete shelf of like every language. And I was like, oh, these ones are out of stock, these ones that are on the shelf. And she was like super annoyed with me, but I was already annoyed, right? Someone with anxiety disorder in a store that's busy, and she just like didn't want to do her job. And so like I took it back to her after a couple of minutes once I found the Spanish version I was looking for. And I was like, this says that it's $299. Could you please ring it up and let me know? Because online it says it's, $159. And she's like, no, if it says it's $299, that's what it is. And I was like, but online it says that they are on sale. And she's like, well, we can't ring it up back here. When you ring it up front, it'll tell you, the retail price. And I was like, well, could you just check? And like, she just didn't want to do her job, and she was driving me crazy. And I'm sure she's just like overwhelmed because there were so many people, and it's just like probably she wanted to be home. Like, but I made her ring it up, and she did. And lo and behold, when she rung it up, it said, $159 after she told me that it couldn't do that back there. And so I was like, okay, thank you. And it was just like one of those annoying days, whatever. That was like my story. So if you have like annoying stories during the holiday season, I mean, I understand. It's a lot. And I'm not mad at her or annoyed with her. I just thought it was hilarious that I was just like, had to keep, plugging away at her until she figured it out. But anyway, so I ended up picking up this. This is what came along with a code, like an access code that you put into the website. So you end up getting a Spanish-English dictionary as well as the Spanish grammar. And it's just so cute. It's like, I don't even know. I want to say it's like A6 size. It's really adorable. And I'm excited about this because I had a larger version. This one, it's pocket size, so you can carry it with you, and I will. But I really want to like write and highlight in here, and I couldn't do that because mine was like the library's version. So I'm happy to have my own. And of course, this one has the words in Spanish in the front into English, and then English into Spanish in the back. And it also came with a map, which I thought was kind of awesome. And yeah, it shows you like all of the Spanish speaking countries and where they are. So very snazzy. I went ahead and I subscribed to this and put everything in and got it all set up, and it's on my laptop. I was annoyed though, I will let you know if you didn't know, because I didn't, that down here they say that you get a electronic version of the dictionary, which I was very excited about, but however, it's not compatible with smartphones or most tablets, which was super annoying. So you can go ahead and buy the app for this. I think it's like $9, which eventually I probably will go ahead and do, but I'm super annoyed that you can't get it on. That's just like more money. They're just trying to get more money out of me. So maybe I won't because I'm annoyed with them, but that's, information for you in case you didn't know. And online, if you go to Target online, you need to read the fine print. I didn't really like look into it very much, but if you want to order it online, it's saying something, and I think maybe it's also on the website. It might have been on the website for Rosetta Stone, but they were talking about how if you buy one, you can get a second one like half off or something. So if you wanted to gift it to a friend, you could do that. So look into that, do your research. Okay, so you probably remember this if you've been following me for a while. I abandoned this so many times, and it's still not completely full because I just have issues finishing things. But I have done a lot of work. This was for my book Witness, which is not really what it's called, but I mean, I needed a name for it. I have done a lot of this because it's almost finished, right? I just like abandoned this and I rewrote it in like a couple of different notebooks, and then I just stopped doing this altogether. But I enjoyed this, like thinking about these things as I was writing and editing. So I want to do something similar to this in the Hobonichi. So I brought this out and I'm just covering this because these are my, this is my main list of chapters for this book, and they have like actual names that give away plot points. So that's why that's covered. But I definitely want to do something kind of like this in here. So this is my Hobonichi Cousin Avec, which just means the Avec version comes in 2 notebooks, 6 months in one and 6 months in the other, in case you're new. And I went ahead and I used the tabs, if you haven't seen that tab video, from Traveler's Company. These are the 2019 tabs. And I put them in here. And I have a little tab that says monthly. So all I did in here so far was mark that I was going to take a break, because this doesn't actually start technically. You can't use all of the sections until January, but they do give you a month before. So I could technically just use the monthly in December. So I marked here that I was going to take a break after I won NaNoWriMo. I was only supposed to take this weekend, which has turned into several weeks. I know, I ended up getting busy with my niece's play. I was thinking about going back here because this is the 26th through the 30th of November, and I just didn't realize that I could have been using this at the end of November. I was so busy with NaNoWriMo and my niece's high school production of The Wizard of Oz that I just didn't have time for this. So I can go back and fill in this if I want to, what I did those days, because I do have that information in other planners and notebooks. I just haven't done it yet. So what am I going to do with this guy? This is supposed to be my notebook for notes. I wanted to put in here my schedule for writing, and then on the weeklies I was going to do something like I've been doing in my Jibun Techo, where I break these into categories across like this, to keep track of some things for my writing. And then the dailies here were just going to be for daily notes. So if I listened to a podcast, I wanted to write down what that podcast was. And whether it was like a half an hour podcast or an hour and I listened to the whole thing, I just wanted to write a little paragraph about what it was about and what information I wanted to take from that. For the first month of January, because that's when this starts, this is, I say that because they also have an April or spring start that starts in April. I'm going to try this for all of January in that way. And then if I find that I'm not using it every day or it's just not working out, then, you know, in February, I will change my mind and figure something else out. And it might become just for collections. Okay. So in here, what did I do this week? I can't even remember. I know I worked on some things. I'm not sure what those things were. My novel. And I'm using this snazzy binder to keep it in. So these are just some things I printed off the internet that I like to keep in here as I'm going over stuff. This is a printable. I don't know where I ended up getting this printable from. Somewhere. I don't know. And then you'll see back here that I kind of just put tabs for each of the chapters so that I would kind of know what's going on. So I can just flip through it and work on that chapter. They're all printed out and in here and ready to go. And then on this line, and then I did some grammar things like a few misspelled words, and I took things like when you say very cold, you can write freezing, or you say, you know, like anything that's like very. I don't know why sometimes I use very instead of just using a better, stronger word. I went through and did stuff like that throughout these first 3 chapters. What did I do here? Honestly, nothing. I decided, I think, on this day that I was going to learn Spanish. That was like, that was it. That's all that I did there. By this day, I want to read up to midpoint. Yeah. Because, again, I don't know how many chapters there are. Okay, I hope that's dry enough, because there's gel pen on this paper, though. Even though this is the Sarasa dry and it's fast acting, it's still not fast enough. Okay, so what I want to do here is sort of the same thing I have been doing in my Jibun Tacho, where I ignore the hours, because I'm not as interested in what time of the day I'm writing, but I am interested in like categories throughout my week. So let's pull out. Now remember, this is from the Friendly set, and this yellow does not work well in the Mio paper that's in the Biz version of the Jibun Techo, but it will work nicely on this Tomoe River paper. And I love that somebody mentioned that they're not a big fan of the friction highlighters, because when you highlight over something, it just codes whatever you highlighted and it won't erase, which is kind of annoying. So it only works friction on friction, and some people don't care for the way it streaks, which I also understand. I like the idea of them though. And again, if you use them with a friction pen, they're snazzy. It's just with anything else, not so much. So I found out that there are 49 lines down, and I numbered them over here so that I could see this a little easier. And I'm going to go ahead and erase line number 1, line 8, line 15, 22, 29, 36, 43. Yeah, I think that's all of them, because if I try to erase them after I highlight them, it's going to be a hot mess. So first we'll go with green. And I'm just going to highlight this across to make categories like I do in my Jibun Techo. And I have to sometimes like pull it this way because I can't see backwards when to stop. And I always like dab the edge, because when you stop it leaves like the most ink. Super annoying. Okay, so this will be my first category, and I believe that gives me, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines for each of these. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the rest. Okay, so this blue one smudged the most, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categories. You can leave it like this. If you don't like all of the color and you want it to be a little less, you can go ahead and just highlight the sides here, which I think I will also do. Okay, so yeah, I like the way that looks. You can either do it like this or all the way across, or both. If you're not like a big fan of the color, you can use this is the dark gray, but you can use a lighter color of gray across like that and just do it all in grayscale and just have sections, or use just one color of whatever color you like the most. If you don't have mild liners, you can certainly use any kind of highlighter, or you can use your Tombow dual tip brush pens as well. Let me show you how. Sorry, I bumped you. The Jibun Techo looks. Can find a completed week. So here's one that's been completed. So you just have the color here. This is a little more subtle because I just used this side of the tip, which I could certainly do in here also if I don't like the big line there. And then just write whatever I want for those categories on the side off like that, or I can just write them, like I mentioned, individually at the top for each one. Okay, so I have named this category for the 5 senses. So again, if I work this day on touch and this day on sound, whatever, and then by the end of the week, let's say I'm editing 2 chapters this week. I just want to make sure that I've written that I've done these things for those 2 chapters so I can move on. I'm going to leave this one blank in case I come up with something else that I haven't thought of. Right here, like the main plot point, it needs to be, you know, at this point, you just try to work plot point to plot point, and I just need to make sure that whatever that plot point is that I need to get across, I've done that in the chapters. And then the subplot. So subplot is definitely when you want to add a little meat to your story. You definitely have a subplot going on in there. I need to make sure that I don't drop the subplot because sometimes you're so focused on the main plot you forget to add this one in. So I need to make sure that that is going throughout the story. And then here we have theme. So theme is always a really big thing for me. Some people work on the theme, some people just write, and there's usually 1 to 2, sometimes 3 to 4 themes that you can pull. So if you've ever had a literature class where you had to, you know, take any kind of work, you know, like Shakespeare, and they're like, okay, come up with a theme and write an essay about it. You definitely know that you can find several themes. The cliffhangers is a big deal because this is a murder mystery, so I like to leave a cliffhanger at the end of every chapter so that the reader never wants to put down the book. That's super important. And then here we have setting. So even though this is a modern day book, it is set more in a rural area, so there's still some things that people in the city might not know about, and some things that people that do live in the country appreciate. And so I need to make sure that even though this is not like a world building book, that I don't like forget about the scene, because I think sometimes authors do drop that and you're like, what do things look like? I need to just make sure that I don't drop the scenery, and if we switch places, like if we're no longer in the library and we're somewhere else, that I set up that scene enough that people feel satisfied. Okay, so that is how that looks. And then we have the dailies. I think I'm just going to wait until the day starts to see how I fill this in, and I'll probably share that later. That is how I'm going to be using my Hobonichi for 2019, at least for this month and for January, and then we'll see how it goes from there. All right, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope that this was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.